So today let us start with respect to the do while loop in Java. Okay, it is also a kind of loop, guys, where we have seen with respect to the for loop and while loop. So do while loop is also a kind of loop that we have in Java, which is basically used whenever we want a block of code to be executed at least once. Okay, at that particular time we go with do while loop. So this is known as a do while loop. Okay, so what is a do while loop and when to go with do while loop? Let us see. So basically in Java, a do while loop is a control statement, okay, control flow statements that executes a block of code at least once, okay, and when and then repeatedly executes a block as long as specified condition is true. Okay, that is when we will be getting a do while loop. Okay, so with respect to the do while loop, whenever we are starting, so first it goes like this. So this will be the syntax. Okay, so first it will be executing some set of statement, then it will try to check a condition. Okay, now let us see this with respect to Eclipse. Okay, let me try to show it in Eclipse that how does this work with respect to a do while loop. Okay, so this is a class. Let me try to take one do while loop inside this. Okay, do while. So a do while loop looks like this, guys. Okay, do is basically an reserved keyword and while is the reserved keyword that we have already seen with respect to the while loop, and this is the condition that we will be writing. See, with respect to the major difference between while and do while loop, or the major difference between while, for, and do while loop is that in the do while loop, we'll be first trying to execute the set of statement, then we gonna check some condition. The difference between while and do while. In the while, how it works, we don't gonna check. We gonna check the condition first, then we gonna execute the set of statement. So that is while loop. But in the case of do while loop, we first gonna execute the set of statement and then we gonna execute first we gonna execute some set of statement and then we gonna check the condition. So that is the difference between while and do while loop. Okay, so for example, suppose there is one thing, like for example, let me try to take the example that I have taken here. Okay, so this is a variable I and this. So do while loop is nothing but first execute the set of statement, then check the condition. First execute the set of statement, then check the condition. Okay, so now if I try to switch here to the word, so how it works, let us see how the do while loop works. The body of the loop executes first. Okay, the condition is checked after execution of the loop of the body. If the condition is true, the loop repeats. If the condition is false, the loop stops. That is the way how the do while loop works. For example, if I go here back, okay, now here if I am trying to execute this, run as Java application. So how it works before that, let us see. So first thing what happens, how it works, first time it should execute the value of do. It should execute the do loop. That is, it should execute the code that is written inside do. So what is the code? So the code is we have written iteration. Iteration it will print and then we have printed the value of I. What is the value of I? The value of I is 1. So 1 it will print. Then it should increment the value of I. So what is the value of I now? It is 2. It is incremented. Okay, after increment. Let me write it as after increment. After increment the value of I is 2. Next what happens? Again it will check the condition. So what is the condition? What is the value of I? I value is 2. Okay, I value is 2. So 2 is lesser than or equal to 5. Yes, 2 is lesser than or equal to 5. This will return as true. So if it is true, the loop continues. Again it will go back here like this and it will try to execute again set of statement. So what is the value of I now? So the value of I is 2. So this will print iteration 2 and next it will try to increment the value of I. What will be the value of I set? It will set to 3. Is 3 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, 3 is lesser than or equal to 5. So this will again return as true. Okay. So again it will go to the do loop and it will again try to print iteration I. What is the value of I now? The value of I is set to 3. So it will try to print iteration 3. And once it executes this set of statement, it will try to increment the value of I. What is the value of I will become now? It will become 4. Is 4 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, this will return true. Again it will go upside, again it will try to execute the do loop, again it will try to print iteration 4. So once it prints iteration 4, it will try to increment the value of I. Now the value of I will be 5. Is 5 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, 5 is equal to 5. So it will return true. It will again go to the above do loop and it will again try to execute this set of statement like this. And what is the value of I now? The value of I is 5. So it will print 5. And then it will try to increment the value of I from 5 to 6. Okay. Is 6 lesser than or equal to 5? It is lesser than? No. It is equal to? No. So this will return as false. So once this is false, the while loop will be, do while loop will be terminated and it will execute the next set of statements, whatever we will be writing here. For example, if I am trying to write something like this out, something else I am writing. This is this other set of code that we have written. Okay. So like for example, apple is a fruit. I'm just trying to write some set of statements so that it is clear that after do while loop, whatever we have, it will be executed. It's not that after do while loop, the program terminates. No. It will try to execute whatever the set of statements if we have written something else after the do while loop. Okay. So now let us try to run and see whether it will print the same output. Run as Java application. See, is it printing the same thing? Iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4, iteration 5, and apple is a fruit that we have written here. This set will not print, guys. This will not print it because this is explanation statements that I have written. Okay. So this is how the do while loop works. So first it will try to check the condition. It will execute the particular set of statements. Then it will try to check the condition. So this is the usage of do while loop. Okay. Now let me switch back to Word. So this is the statement and this is the output. When to go with the do while loop? The loop always run at least once, even if the condition is false. This one thing I need to tell. I will tell you. It is useful when we want to ensure the code runs before checking a condition. So when to go with do while loop? We can go with the do while loop when we want to ensure that the code should run before checking a condition. Okay. At that particular time, we can go with respect to the do while loop. When we want one time it should be executed before checking the condition. So at that particular time, we can go at that particular requirement, we can go with the do while loop. When we want that some set of statement to be executed before checking the condition, then in that case, we can go with the do while loop. Okay. And there is one thing to remember here, guys. The loop always run at least once, even if the condition is false initially. This is a very important thing. Okay. The loop always runs at least once, even if the condition is false initially. For example, something like this. Okay. Now, for example, something like this. If you observe here, what is the value of I? The value of I is 1. Right? The value of I is 1. Let me try to make the value of I as 6. Okay. The value of I as 6. So now, even though the value of I, even though the condition that we have written is false, first it will execute, then it will check. So first it has to execute. So that is the meaning of that even though the loop always, even though the condition is false initially, the loop always runs at least once. See, I'll show you now. I'll save the code, Control S, and now run as Java application. It will print 6. Even though the condition is false. See here, what is the value of I? The value of I is 6. Is 6 lesser than or equal to 5? No, it is greater than 5. So this will return false. Even though the condition is false, as the do while loop should be executed once before checking the condition. So in that case, the do while loop will be executed at least once, even though the condition is false. This is the meaning of that statement. Even though the condition is false, the do loop should be executed at least once, because the order of execution is like that. First we have to execute the do statement, then we have to check the condition. So due to that order, this kind of situation occurs. Okay, so this is the usage of do while loop. When to go with the do while loop? We can go with the do while loop when we want to ensure the code runs before checking a condition. Before checking the condition, we need the execution of code to happen. Okay, at that particular time we go with the do while loop. Okay, so this is a do while loop in Java.